Welcome, Aquarius, to the month of November 2018. I'm Megan of North Star Astrology, and this is another general transits reading for those of you born with your sun, moon, and rising signs in the air sign of Aquarius. Now, the month starts out on November 2nd with Venus in Libra in your 9th house of higher education, law, and long-distance travels, sextiling or making the 60-degree short but sweet aspect to the moon in Leo. So from your 9th to your 7th houses, the moon in the 7th house of others and or your opposite sun sign, and in the 7th house of significant partnerships, your feelings will positively reflect into a state of love and perhaps camaraderie and just absolute love and general happiness in perhaps a long distance trip. Then on November 4th, Jupiter, which has been transiting your 10th house of career in Scorpio, sextiles the moon once the moon comes into your 8th house of others' resources and makes the short but sweet 60-degree aspect to the moon in Virgo. So from your 8th to your 10th houses, now you have the ability to emotionally obtain, emotionally as in emotionally be able to speak up and ask for your needs to be met financially, as in a possible promotion and or raise. So that's really good. And that happens at 7:27 on November 4th. Then on November 6th, Venus conjuncts or makes a 0 to 8 degree very close conjunction with the moon in Libra in your 9th house. And having the moon in the 9th house, that's where mine is, gives you a almost philosophical sense. And it's a wonderful placement, as the psychic Edgar Cayce actually had his moon here in this house. So you may very well have philosophical as well as psychic proclivities on November 6th. But you'll also most likely and most importantly be emotionally perhaps in love with the idea of going back to college, getting a higher education, or understanding the higher mind, as this house also deals with the higher mind. Then on November 6th as well, the planet Uranus in currently transiting your 4th house of the home retrogrades and goes into your 3rd house into the sign of Aries. So your 3rd house deals with communications, and having Uranus transit back into and or retrograde at 19 hours and 1 minute until January 6th, 2019, at which point it will come back into your 4th house, into Taurus, on May 5th, 2020. But until that time, when it was here, you had a lot of disruptions in the home. Now once it retrogrades into, and I don't have one of those little tabs, I need to make one of those eventually. I just had hand surgery. You will have perhaps, oh, and by the way, in case I had forgotten, I didn't mean to forget this is your ruling planet. Okay, Aquarius, Uranus is retrograding your ruling planet. And once it goes into your third house of communications, it actually causes all kinds of possible disruptions with electronics, as it rules electronics, and or disruptive communications with siblings, short distance travels, neighbors, you name it. And especially as it's going retrograde for a time, it's only going to be a temporary upset, but nothing to fear. It's just, that's interesting. But yes, this is Aquarius, this is your ruling planet, as I've depicted over here too. This symbolizes the planet Uranus, and that's its glyph, just as your air sign symbol is the glyph of the waving or wavy waters. And then also too, on November 6th, the North Node of the Moon, which has been in your opposite sign in Leo, now actually moves into the sign and travels almost as if it's traveling backwards in time. And it travels into your 6th house of health, work, and service given, into the sign of Cancer now, and won't go into the sign of Gemini until May 5th, 2020. But now that the North Node of the Moon enters your 6th house, you can be sure that you'll have, hopefully, possibly more fulfillment, as when the North Node of the Moon symbolizes the dragon's head, or where we want to go, instead of the South Node, which is what we want to leave behind, as those are our negative tendencies. Here we have our positive tendencies to possibly be more giving and fulfilled, and have more fulfillment at work. And now that it's going into the sign of Cancer, you can be sure that it will be either more nurturing or more bossy. One way or the other, you will feel that, hey, your needs need to be met just as much as anybody else on the job. Okay, then on November 7th, the new moon occurs in your 10th house, also going into Scorpio, as the sun is in your 10th house of career and public standing, and it's currently in the sign of Scorpio, the other fixed sign to you. You're fixed too. You're fixed air, Scorpio's fixed water. Now with the new moon here, you may very well come up with new concepts or new ideas or projects for your team, if you're working as a team in your career with your colleagues. So that's a very good thing there. And that happened at, or will be happening at 15 degrees Scorpio, 11 minutes, 16 hours, and 3 minutes into the day. Then the following day, November 8th, Jupiter, also transiting your 10th house of career, makes what looks like an upside down V with a line over it. And I don't have one of those aspect symbols or lines for an inconjunct, as on November 8th, Jupiter will be inconjuncting, or 5 sign or 5 houses away aspect, rather than an opposition. It makes an inconjunct and or also known as the quincunx. And with the quincunx or inconjunct, as I've only known it from the standpoint of a longtime friend's natal chart, it is a time where you may feel a temporary sense of inadequacy in luck in short distance travels and or the disruptions therein between how you communicate in your career. And in other words, some of those new ideas or whatever, you may feel, oh, did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Was that appropriate? You're gonna doubt yourself with this inconjunct. Don't do that. It'll make you feel a slight temporary feeling of inferiority and or inadequacy, especially in the way you communicate in your career. And that happens only on November 8th at 6:21. Now, also on November 8th, Mars, which has been transiting your first house of the self and the body in your sign of Aquarius, now squares the building new moon, as it's still in the new moon phase, but it's building toward the first quarter, as it's 3 signs or 3 houses away between your air sign and the water air. That's what builds this 90-degree aspect. And with this challenge to the action of the planet Mars in your air sign of Aquarius to the moon in Scorpio, the new moon, you may feel the need that you want to, and you can't. In other words, there's a feeling like you can't be yourself, even though you're trying to take off in new directions. You're trying to maybe do something that's beyond people's comprehension, and you're going to feel just a tiny bit of frustration and a tendency to maybe possibly be agitated by that square to the new moon. But just know that it's a time to also go within a little bit and catch your breath. Take a deep breath before you get angry with yourself as well. Don't get angry with yourself as well. You know what I mean? Then too, on November 8th, Jupiter enters your 11th house. I'm just going to leave it outside of the parameter here, because there's no way to be able to fit it all in here. It's so big. Jupiter's the biggest planet. Okay, so Jupiter will enter the sign of Sagittarius, where it feels at home, in your 11th house, actually your 11th house, because this is Aquarian energy here of the group dynamic or friendship house. And now that Jupiter, and as Jupiter rules Sagittarius, this is why that's going to be good. And that happens at 12:40. Then 3 days later, November 11th, your ruling planet Uranus trines the moon once the moon goes into your 11th house, into Sagittarius. Now this is like I always say, I love it when the moon is still in Scorpio, but and I'll tell you, yesterday I had the opportunity to speak very joyously and passionately. That's why I was so passionate. The moon was in Scorpio, wait a minute, we're talking about future here, but I'm thinking, wait a minute. Okay, never mind. Okay, however, that's how I feel about it. Okay, when the moon is in Scorpio and then it enters into Sagittarius, there is a very joyous feeling about how people communicate, especially with, and wait a minute. Let's see, when the moon, I am actually going to look this up. Today is October 11th. Well, I'll be darned. Okay. The moon is in Scorpio, but yesterday it was still in partially in Libra. Okay, then I'm right about that. Okay, so again, we're nearing the middle of the month here. I'm recording this on October 11th, and having this moon harmoniously trining your ruling planet Uranus in your third house of communications gives you the emotional sense that you're almost like the life of the party, and everybody is just absolutely enjoying your company and what you have to say. And what you have to say is very unique. And that's what I love. Okay, so that's funny. Oh my God! So the moon is actually in Scorpio even today. So that's why I feel so joyous even now. Okay, and when the moon also goes into Sagittarius, that too gives you that sense of joy among friends. And there again, this. I believe Mercury might be your sub-ruler. I got to look that up. But in a soul-centered astrology standpoint, so there may be very much wonderful ways of being able to emotionally communicate, and everybody gets you, and that's all that matters. You know, people loving one another. Okay, and then on November 13th, when the moon goes into your 12th house of the house of the Piscean house of the subconscious mind and dream state, it then squares your ruling planet Uranus. And so now your emotions are a bit scattered. And your dreams too. Keep a tablet and pen by your bedside, because you may have very prophetic dreams, as here Saturn manifests a bunch of uncanny, strange, especially here. Now the moon in Capricorn gives you somewhat of a serious dream state on November 13th, when it squares your ruling planet in the third house so from your subconscious mind to your conscious mind, you're going to have some really bizarre dreams. So remember to write them down. And then on November 15th, 2 days later from that, the first quarter moon occurs in your sign at 14 hours 55 minutes and or 23 degrees Aquarius 11 minutes, at which time it gives you that sense flowing from the new moon phase into first phase flavor, giving you perhaps that need to look after your body, which is your ankle area. You rule the ankle area, so watch out that you're wearing proper footwear or ankle support. If you need ankle support, use it. And then on November 15th as well, Mars, which has been transiting your first house of the self and body, now moves into your second house of money, into Pisces. And so with this Mars in Pisces at moving in at 22 hours 22 minutes on November 15th, halfway through the month, you will feel even more of a drive toward earning power and in perhaps altruistic ways, much more spiritual ways of attaining your income. Then on November 16th, your ruling planet, Uranus, makes the 60-degree, short but sweet sextile to the first quarter moon at 4 o'clock. And so there's two houses away here. It does seem a bit squashed here, but I tried to get it evenly spaced. Okay, so the moon, the feeling position of the moon in the first quarter phase in your sign, Aquarius, now sextiling your ruling planet. This then gives you the ability to feel that your communications are being heard, and you're feeling that people are receptive to what you say. Because what you have to say matters too, you know? And then on November 16th as well, Venus in Libra, the other air sign, only this time it's cardinal air, in your 9th house, stations direct at 10:52. Instead of being retrograde for all of us, we're going to be much more happy about this direct Venus. Now that Venus will be going direct and stationing direct, woohoo! Your love life will hopefully improve because of that. Then on November 17th, Mercury goes retrograde. And normally I like to say, woohoo, get out of here, retrograde. But no, Mercury is going to be going retrograde. So if you're going to be doing any dealings with your friends, and your friends maybe wanting to have you go in with them on a contract deal, be sure to be careful about reading over any documents before you sign. And that happens on November 17th, and somewhat there is that little bit of lingering shadow period, as they always say, before and after, but only definitely on November 17th where it's the strongest. And so, yeah, watch out. Be sure to cross those T's and dot those I's and really, really read over stuff carefully. Then on November 18th, the Sun trines the Moon. Once the Moon goes into your 2nd house into Pisces. And now, since both of these are water signs, you'll see that this very harmonious trine from the Moon in your 2nd house of money is now, there's my amethyst, it's in the way of Neptune. Okay, so you will once again be able to feel harmonious about your earning power. See, because the 2nd house deals with money and what you value, and your 10th house is your career realm. So something on November 18th will be very positive, very harmonious. Then on November 20th, Uranus, your ruling planet, conjuncts the Moon in Aries, as your ruling planet went or is going to be going retrograde in Aries and conjuncting the Moon now in Aries in your 3rd house of communications. And this then will give you a sense of somewhat, I always feel it like it's as somewhat like having Pluto in the 1st house. It's there's a great deal of emotional, yet sometimes almost like, Woo! Intensity. Only in some ways it can bring on a bit of an emotional scattered tendencies in communications, or unique emotional ways in how you present yourself and your communication style. And then on November 22nd, the Sun leaves Scorpio and enters your 11th house, enters Sagittarius, into your naturally residing house of Aquarius. And look at this energy we have going on here. Now, excuse me, boy, I'm thirsty. Now having the Sun enter, much like the Moon, when the Sun enters Sagittarius, we're gearing up toward winter, and we're also nearing Thanksgiving. So, and for those of you that celebrate it, oh, well, I'm not quite there yet. Hang on a second. Then, also too, on November 22nd, Pluto, which has been transiting your 12th house in Capricorn, now trines the Moon. Once the Moon goes into Taurus and into your 4th house of the home. And so now Pluto, which not long ago went direct in your 12th house of dreams and hidden needing hidden isolation, or need to go within house. I always see this as a need to go within, or hidden, I don't want to say hidden enemies, but hidden secrets perhaps. Well, with this harmonious trine, you won't have that. You won't have that need to isolate. However, with Pluto, because of the trine, with Pluto harmoniously trining the Moon in Taurus in your 4th house of the home, you will feel so much more of a pleasant emotion with, it's like almost like a gentle, grounded, because it's in the earth sign of Capricorn, I don't know how to explain it, but it's going to be just so harmonious within the home. Maybe you're getting ready for Thanksgiving and you're decorating your home life for the holiday celebration. Then too, on November 23rd, the full moon occurs into your 5th house of romance and creativity in Gemini. I don't know if you can see that with the peace rock in the way. The full moon happens at 5:40 or 0 degrees Gemini, 52 minutes, and as you see, opposes the Sun in Sagittarius. So with this full moon, you can highlight a very your romance will come into almost like it'll blossom, maybe, perhaps, if you will. That's the way I see that energy for some reason, or like something will come to fruition. Maybe you'll finally get the romantic suitor of your dreams. Then on November 25th, Neptune stations direct at 1:09. So now Neptune is no longer going to be making you feel like your money is not amounting to much. You won't feel so self-deceived, or you won't feel so like that money is just an illusion. Now money is going to, Neptune is going to be going direct in your money house. That's what I meant to say. Being that I'm a Pisces, I always get my words backwards. Swear to God. Then, on November 25th as well, your ruling planet, Uranus, sextiles, again, this time, the waning full moon. So from your 3rd to your 5th houses, you now have your ruling planet sextiling the waning full moon in Gemini, giving you that sense of positivity in communications with your romantic partner. Then on November 27th, your ruling planet squares the moon once it goes into your 6th house of health, work, and service given. And I'm running a little short on time here. I better. Oh no. Okay, now I'm doing pretty good. Okay, your ruling planet squares the moon in Leo. Once the moon comes full circle in your 6th house of work, health, and service given, now your ruling planet is squaring your feeling nature of how you communicate on the job, and you may feel irritated with others, or others may end up being irritated with you. But no need to fear that. Just don't worry about it too much. Then on November 29th, Jupiter, now in its ruling sign of Sagittarius, makes a semi-square. And I don't have one of those either, because it's a very infrequent aspect, as is the quincunx earlier. And so Jupiter semi-squares, very short aspect between Jupiter and Pluto. And this, I don't really know how will affect you, but a semi-square, maybe much like a square, maybe largely will affect your group dynamic or some kind of friendship in an intense but however, that's the lucky planet, so there's something beneficial, possibly. And then on November 29th as well, your ruling planet trines the moon in Leo. Oh, wait a minute. I was wrong about the moon coming full circle if it was in... Oh, boy, was I wrong about that. Okay, my bad. The moon and the north node of the moon are in Cancer. I said Leo. I apologize about that. Okay, so because I didn't see it. Oh, boy. Couldn't see it, and so now I'm like, oh, great. Okay, now the moon comes full circle into your 7th house. Hello. But then that's why the square happened over here between Aries and Cancer. Okay, so now that the moon has come full circle in your 7th house of relationships, it now harmoniously harmonizes with your ruling planet Uranus in your 3rd house of communications. And I am having to run, get this done. But however, your feelings toward your partner or business partner will be very harmonious in communication, possibly even psychically, maybe, possibly, as far as feelings go, and your feeling nature will be spontaneously, harmoniously driven toward being emotionally there, present with your partners, whatever, the house of others. Then, on November 30th, the last day of the month, the last quarter phase moon at 0 hours 20 minutes, or 7 degrees Virgo, 43 minutes, occurs in your 8th house. And with that, Aquarius, I hope you can still see this, as it's kind of getting a little bit dark, and I didn't want to have a bunch of glare on from the blinds up above. Okay, but with that, I want to express my gratitude and thanks that you're here and you're watching my reading. And I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and or feel free to subscribe or even share one of my videos. And thank you for looking up upon the North Star. And yes, indeed, I did have my hand surgery It's still having to heal. It won't be completely healed until November 1st. So just in time for Thanksgiving, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah. I gotta get Pisces done, and then I'll have this uploaded for you, and I know it's going to be late because of this. I'm only able to wash my dishes with one hand. My good hand. My left hand. So, okay. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye for now.